Have someone ever tried to take like some of your belongings from you?
Now listen, I ain't gonna lie. A did run off on me before. I will tell you that. They did what they did.
Yeah, them did what they did and had to pay the consequences.
You know I'm a killer. Me and Jeff got way more heads than
In drill music, the lines between rap and real life are thin. But for BloodHound Lil Jeff and Q50, their lyrics weren't just entertainment, they were practically blueprints for what happened next. In 333, BloodHound Lil Jeff rapped, "When I ran up on that car, his eye looked up and he was stuck." To someone unfamiliar with the streets, this might sound like standard drill rap. But in reality, this bar describes a real-life shooting, one that ended in tragedy.
19-year-old Jaleel Goins was shot after getting into Robert Smith's car on Sunday night. Smith says he hit the gas when someone standing outside of the car started shooting. He rushed Goins to the hospital where he was pronounced dead.
But Jeff wasn't the only one sending messages through music. Q50 had his own way of making things known. In Splash Bros, Q50 rapped, "Should've seen his face trying to eat his chips when I bailed out the Maxima. I went up 8, ninjas know that I'm a real deal clapper."
I'm not no rapper. Should've seen his face trying to eat his chips when I belt out the maximum.
You see, Glenn was reportedly shot while grabbing snacks at a Clark gas station. And Q50's lyrics? They described it in chilling detail. The car he mentioned, a Nissan Maxima, wasn't just a random choice. Police later found a Maxima abandoned, the same car linked to Glenn's shooting. Coincidence? Maybe. But in drill music, coincidences like this happen far too often. And it wasn't the only time Q50's lyrics seemed to line up with reality. Moving on. In I Love My Draco, Lil Jeff rapped, "Riding round with this Drac, it'll take your soul. I just made a play today for like 6 phones." At first, it sounds like another drill anthem. But when you compare these lyrics to what happened outside of Chicago McDonald's on November 10, 2022, things start to align in a disturbing way. A gunman opened fire near 95th and Wentworth, striking 3 people, including 29-year-old Rodney Strong, known as V. Hawaii, who later died at the hospital. His brother and mother also suffered gunshot wounds, but survived. According to police reports, the shooters used handguns and a rifle, which many believe was a Draco, the same gun repeatedly referenced in Q50's lyrics. "Long live my ninja J-Mo, damn, I hate he gone. But you know I'm Mr. Get Back, and that won't be long."
Long live my J-Mo, damn, I hate he's gone.
That line alone set off alarms. J-Mo, a known BloodHound affiliate, was killed just weeks before BJI's death. Many believe I Love My Draco is not just a sign, but a declaration of retaliation. But Q50 and his crew didn't stop there. He went on the rap. 7.62 hit his head, put a ninja right to bed. His shirt white, we turn it red. BJI was shot multiple times, and the bullet wounds reportedly matched 7.62 mm rounds, the same caliber used in a Draco rifle. Not long after the shooting, the McDonald's where BJI was killed shut down permanently. Q50's crew, the Bloodhounds, took this as a victory, openly celebrating it in music. The connections were undeniable, but the question remained, was Q50 just rapping about real events, or was he outright confessing? These songs weren't just lyrics, that they were warnings, confessions, and in some cases, even play-by-plays of crimes that had already happened. And for anyone paying attention, one thing was clear. Drill music wasn't just reflecting the streets, it was fueling them. You see, BloodHound Lil Jeff and Q50 were 2 of the most infamous figures in the new era of Chicago drill. Rappers whose lyrics don't just talk about violence, they confirm it. From murder to retaliation, their music paints a bloody picture of Chicago's ongoing gang war. And as their enemies kept dropping, the body count just kept rising.
Feel if I get mad enough, will start happening. Y'all know this by now. I went for like a week and poof.
But how did it get to this point? Chicago's drill rap scene isn't just music. It's a battlefield, and Lil Jeff was one of its most dangerous players. But Jeff's story didn't start with music. It started with bloodshed. Jeffrey Lamar Harris, better known as Lil Jeff, was born on July 14, 2002, and raised on Chicago's East Side, an area known for its heavy gang activity. But for Jeff, the streets weren't just something happening around him. They were his family business. His older brother, Jay Boogie, was already caught up in that life, and Jeff looked up to him. He saw Jay Boogie carrying guns, making money, and gaining respect in the hood. To a young kid like Jeff, that looked like the only way to survive. But things took a turn when Jeff was just 11 years old. He witnessed something no child should ever see, the unalivement of Kenny Mack, a well-known figure in the neighborhood. That moment changed Jeff forever. Before that, he was just another kid trying to fit in. But after witnessing that killing, he wasn't just in the streets anymore, he wanted revenge. Like many kids growing up in rough neighborhoods, Jeff had dreams of making it to the NBA. He played basketball, hoping it could be his ticket out. But reality hit hard when he realized he wasn't gonna make it. With his hoop dreams crushed, Jeff turned to the next thing that gave him status: drill music.
BloodHound, that's the game. We know that he trying to claim, but he a lame. We don't know that.
Drill wasn't just rap. It was a way for gang members to send threats, celebrate killings, and prove they weren't to be messed with. Jeff quickly found out that in this world, being feared meant being famous. His early music sounded different. His voice was still high-pitched, almost like a kid trying to sound tough. But his lyrics, they were beyond disturbing. He wasn't just rapping about the streets. He was naming real people, real murders, and real enemies. The more violent his music got, the more people paid attention. His rise to prominence in Chicago's drill scene was deeply tied to the escalating violence between rival gangs. And by the time of his death in June 2024, Jeff had become synonymous with the 06679 Civil War, a deadly conflict that began after the murder of his cousin, Z Money, in March 2023. The murder of Z Money, allegedly at the hands of members of Trap City, shattered the fragile alliance between Drill City, Trap City, and Chris World, turning what was once a relatively stable scene into a battleground. As tension soared, Jeff was thrust into the heart of the conflict, using his music and social media presence to fan the flames of this deadly feud. Following the death of Z Money, Jeff's music took a darker turn. He had already been known in the drill scene for his hard-hitting beats and street-smart lyrics, but now his tracks began to reflect the violence around him more directly. He released songs like Coffin, Stretched, and FTO, each one laced with violent imagery and references to real murders.
Subliminal, on the internet criminal. Want to that I'd rather just give it.
These songs weren't just catchy drill anthems, they were aggressive responses to the growing tension and deaths in the streets. His lyrics became explicit, with references to specific incidents, and his music began to serve as a soundtrack to the war unfolding around him. Jeff's social media presence played a significant role in the violence that surrounded him. He was particularly active on Instagram Live, where he would engage in online confrontations with members of Trap City, taunting them and referencing murders as if they were mere points in a game. His posts were often filled with direct threats and references to street life, and at times, he would seem to boast about the violence he had been involved in. One of the most shocking aspects of Jeff's online persona was the revelation that his own mother allegedly encouraged his street activities through text messages that later went viral. This only fueled the perception that Jeff was fully immersed in the lifestyle, and that his family, rather than trying to pull him away from it, was actively supporting his choices. As the violence in Chicago escalated, so did Jeff's involvement in it. The death of Trap City member Lil Goins on June 25th, 2023 marked another significant moment in the war, and Jeff was quick to reference it in his music. Lil was off in Little Italy, a typically safe and gentrified area of the city, making the murder all the more shocking. Jeff's music became more openly violent, often mentioning specific acts of retaliation. As the year continued, the violence in the city only grew, with rumors circulating that Jeff had been involved in even more killings. By November 2023, 2 more murders were attributed to him: Lil Deuce and D Money, both of whom were often a parked car. But despite the mounting violence, Jeff's music career continued to soar. His songs gained more attention, especially after the downtown double homicide on January 26, 2024, in which 2 high school students, Montario Williams and Lil Robert Boston, were shot dead near Washington L Station in broad daylight.
Dade gunmen opened fire on a group of high schoolers on their lunch break from class, killing 2 of them in the middle of downtown Chicago.
The timing and location of the shooting made it impossible for the city to ignore, and it garnered significant media attention. The killings, in which Jeff was rumored to be involved, only served to boost his notoriety. His song released in February 2024, contained apparent references to the murders, and the video quickly garnered nearly 2 million views.
If I told you about what I did, when I speak it's only facts. He was screaming out when he got hit.
Jeff posted on social media about 2 hats, a slang term for murders, and even updated his neck tattoo to include 10 teardrops, with 2 of them connected, likely symbolizing these killings. His lyrics began to reference school shootings and graduations, a disturbing way of glorifying violence that has seemed to only increase his popularity in the drill scene. In the months that followed, Jeff continued to gain attention and success in the music world, but the violence surrounding him intensified. He made numerous social media posts that appeared to claim responsibility for killings, adding to his reputation as someone who was actively involved in the streets. By May 2024, Jeff claimed to have 11 victims, which made him one of the most notorious figures in the Chicago drill scene. Jeff wasn't just rapping about deadly acts anymore, he was carrying them out. His music became more aggressive, more detailed, and even more self-incriminating. But he wasn't working alone because his young protege, Q50, was watching and learning. Michaela Cooper, better known as Q50, wasn't just another street kid trying to make a name for himself. He was raised in the case. His world was one where survival meant being ruthless, calculated, and always ready for war. Unlike some gang members who get pulled into the streets later in life, Q50 was born into it. He grew up bouncing between Chicago and Indiana, but no matter where he went, he was surrounded by violence. And in the streets of Chicago, he found a second home with the Bloodhounds, one of the city's most feared cliques. But the person who influenced him the most? His cousin, Lil Jeff. Jeff wasn't just family. He was Q50's blueprint for how to move in the streets. Jeff's reputation was legendary. He was feared, respected, and always on the offensive. Q50 idolized that. He saw how Jeff handled business, how he made a name through drill music, and how he backed up his words with action. So when Lil Jeff went on his revenge spree after the death of his cousin Z-Money, Q50 watched closely. He studied how Jeff moved, how he carried out his attacks, and how he used social media and music to keep the war going. Lil, whose real name was Jalil Goins, was the first significant body tied to Lil Jeff and Q50's war. On June 25, 2023, Lil was sitting in a rideshare near the UIC campus when his vehicle was ambushed. More than 20 rounds were fired into the car, instantly killing him and wounding the driver. Surveillance footage captured a dark-colored SUV pulling up beside the rideshare just before shots rang out. But why was Lil targeted? Sources claim Lil had ties to Trap City, a rival faction of Bloodhounds, and had been linked to dissing fallen members of Jeff's camp. Some reports suggest Lil wasn't even an active gang member, just someone in the wrong circle at the wrong time. His murder marked the beginning of a violent chain reaction that would only escalate. Unlike most of Jeff and Q50's alleged victims, Glenn survived his encounter. In September 2023, Glenn, a known member of Trap City, was leaving a liquor store on the east side when he was ambushed. Witnesses reported seeing 2 masked gunmen approach his car before unloading dozens of rounds. Glenn was hit multiple times but miraculously survived.
I gave him 10, Jeff gave him 5. I guess that wasn't enough.
Despite this, he refused to cooperate with police, a standard response in Chicago's gang culture. Instead, he took to Instagram Live, showing his bullet wounds and vowing revenge. This shooting led to an escalation of disses between Bloodhounds and Trap City, with Glenn's associates taunting Jeff online. Just a month later, another body would drop in what appeared to be a direct retaliation for Glenn's shooting. Lil Skull was a rising rapper affiliated with Jeff's rivals. In July 2024, he was lured to an abandoned house under the false pretense of recording a music video. According to police reports, Sko arrived at the location with 2 friends. The moment they entered, masked shooters emerged from a back room and opened fire. Sko was hit multiple times and died at the scene, while his friends managed to escape. The shocking part? Less than 24 hours later, Q50 previewed a song on Instagram, laughing and rapping. Told bro line him up, he ain't even know it was a setup. It wasn't just a diss, it was a full admission that the hit was premeditated. The lyrics mirrored the details of the crime, making it clear that Lil Sko was set up from the start. One of the most tragic moments of this ongoing war happened in January 2024, when 2 high school students, Monty and Lil Rob, were gunned down while walking home from school. The word on the street was that Monty had stolen some jewelry from Lil Jeff, and that might have been what got them targeted. A few weeks later, Lil Jeff dropped one of his biggest songs, and it blew up. The music video now has over 4 million views, and the whole song seems like a diss aimed at Monty and Lil Rob.
Think about if I told you about what I did. When I speak, it's only facts. He was screaming out when he got hit.
The song's success took Jeff's rap career to another level, but at the same time, it made him even wilder on social media. He was already reckless, but now he had more attention, and he kept pushing things further, taunting his enemies and stirring up even more drama. Ironically, Lil Jeff and Q50 had a reputation for robbing people, especially for their jewelry. It was almost like a hobby for them. In early May, they struck again, showing off their latest stolen goods on social media. Lil Jeff even posted a picture of his hand wearing a watch that allegedly came from their latest victim. His hand still had blood on it, suggesting that he had beaten or even shot the person they robbed. The victim turned out to be a man known as 6300 Bro. Jeff and Q50 didn't just take his jewelry, they also made fun of him on Instagram Live. Q50 later mentioned the robbery in his music, specifically in his song Make It Far, where he rapped about how they had attacked both Bro and his girlfriend during the robbery. 6300 Bro was associated with a group called TMC, a set based on the west side near Marquette Park. One of the more well-known rappers from TMC was TMC Slide, who had been making music for years. After the robbery, Bro and his TMC associates, including Slide and another rapper named Nutso, went live on Instagram several times, seemingly trying to save face after the attack. But the damage was already done. Jeff, Q50, and their crew, the BloodHounds, had sparked a new rivalry. Just like with previous conflicts involving Monty and Rob, things escalated fast. About a week after the robbery, something happened to TMC Slide. Q50 immediately went on social media, announcing that Slide was now deleted and out of the picture. Around the same time, Lil Jeff also went live, boasting that he was up 11 bodies. That statement fueled rumors that he was responsible for multiple deaths, including one of an alleged 80 Mob member named Baby KD, real name Kill Dunbar, who was also killed around that time. In Slide's case, there was a lot of confusion about what had actually happened. Was he dead, or was this just internet talk? Even Jeff seemed unsure, posting, "Is he dead or alive?" before claiming, "I know the truth, but the ops don't want to tell." He then wrote, "Pull the plug," which made it seem like Slide was in critical condition, possibly on life support. Then, out of nowhere, Slide's Instagram became active again. He posted that he was on vacation in the Dominican Republic and told people to stop calling his phone. However, some fans noticed that his trip to the Dominican Republic had likely happened all the way back in March of 2024, not after the alleged attack. Later, someone went live on Slide's Instagram account, streaming from a location with palm trees in the background. Strangely, this person never showed their face, raising suspicions that it wasn't actually Slide behind the camera. Meanwhile, Lil Jeff kept taunting him. While on a trip to Los Angeles with Vert and Lil Show, he went live and said he hadn't heard from Slide since he crashed into a building. This comment was one of the first hints about what might have happened. Again, he routed, "Pull the plug" on his life support. By the end of May, Q50 also chimed in, posting on his story that people were delusional for pretending that Tack is still alive. He even updated his body count on Facebook, claiming that he was now up 8. Back in March, he had claimed 7. So this implied that someone had been killed between then and May. At the time, it wasn't clear if he was referring to Baby KD or Slide, but this changed when he dropped Make It Far, where he rapped about having 8 bodies, while mocking people who still believed his last victim was alive. This was an obvious reference to Slide. In June, Vert 2 joined in on the trolling, posting a story on Instagram asking Slide to post a picture or something to prove that he's still alive and well. Once again, Slide's Instagram became active, with someone posting a story asking why people thought he was dead. And they pointed out that no major Chicago news pages, like the legal help firm Facebook page, which frequently reports on shootings and murders, had mentioned Slide's death. However, in the comments section of one of these posts, someone claiming to know Slide's family stated that he was actually fighting for his life, and that it was his brother who had been using his Instagram account. As Q50 continued releasing new music throughout July 2024, his songs contained more and more references to Slide's situation. In Splash Bros, he rapped about how Slide had been shot a month earlier and hadn't spoken since, Since the song was likely recorded in mid-June, this hinted that Slide had been injured in May. In another song, First Day Out, Q50 claimed that Slide had been shot before crashing his car. Leaked songs also revealed more details. In Bad Boy, a track with Lil Sko, Q50 seemingly revealed that Slide had been shot with a 10mm pistol. Another leaked song, Scarface, featuring Philadelphia rapper Hood T, contained perhaps the most revealing lyrics. In the song, Q50 rapped that the trenches know who shot Slide, and admitted that people still claiming Slide was alive were really bothering him. At this point, it remained unclear whether Slide had truly survived or if his social media activity was just a cover-up by his friends or family. But regardless of whether he was dead or alive, one thing was certain: his absence had become a major talking point in Chicago's underground rap scene. The ongoing speculation only fueled the fire, and with Jeff and Q50 continuing to mock him, the situation wasn't dying down anytime soon. Unfortunately, when Lil Jeff was off in June 2024, Q50 was right there, allegedly shooting back at the car trying to escape. A female witness crashed her car 2 miles away and later cooperated with police, providing critical details about the incident. But even with that information, Q50 walked free. And instead of laying low, he doubled down. With Jeff gone, Q50 became the new face of Bloodhounds, rapping, sliding, and taunting his enemies every chance he got. At that point, it was no longer just about making a name for himself. It was about continuing the war his cousin started. Q50 has stepped up, becoming one of the most reckless and feared young shooters in his circle. He isn't just rapping about the violence, he's in the middle of it. He has started to gain a reputation as someone who isn't afraid to press the issue, slide on his enemies, and put in work for the Bloodhounds. And just like Jeff, he's making sure people know about it. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.